Crypto is on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks,
All righty, let's kick this thing off. Good morning from Paradise Surfers. My name is Crypto Amaru, and joined by always with Nick the Crypto Hitman. It is January 29th, one day after the Fed rate decision. We did not get the cut as predicted. Gold is ripping. Bitcoin's dumping. Story of 2026 so far, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? The question, I think, on everyone's mind, on the mind of Benjamin Cowan and everyone who's responding to his spicy take, is, will money that has moved into gold eventually rotate into Bitcoin and crypto? We will discuss, we will debate. And of course, the other big story of the day, Binance taking a lot of heat from the fallout over 1010, the October 10th liquidation event. That FUD's been there for a while, but it's really seeming to make a comeback. I guess people are just angry and looking for people to blame. And I think there's a lot of truth to what happened there too. But we'll talk about that. We got some other great stories for you guys. Maybe we'll start with the Fed, though, because I had predicted no cut. You predicted a cut. We didn't get the cut. What's your take now? I don't know if you heard the press conference, but what do you think happens next with the Fed? Is Powell just gonna F Trump over up until May, and that's it's just all politics now, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've been talking. I guess it's been 2 weeks now where we said, all right, there is headwinds, and that's when you change your tune. You're like, all right, no cut, and I just stuck with cut because there is inflation data, there is this, there is that. But Powell, I didn't really watch the whole thing. I can't imagine that he's hawkish because golds and precious metals went up. Stock market is flat, but Bitcoin still red today. Ethereum red today. And he didn't really say much of anything. Pretty much said, hey, we're staying pat. We're going to be data dependent. We're going to be looking at this. Inflation's still a little high, even though Trueflation shows it falling off a cliff. And that's what they're going to go with. So we'll see what happens here, I suppose. But I would be crazy if he just did no cut and held pat all the way through May, because there is other people voting on these things. So I didn't look at the breakdown of the vote or the classification or how that decision really worked for this one. But that's what they went with. No cut. They didn't raise rates. He did say nobody has a base case of raising rates. So you can take that as dovish, if you will. Worst case scenario, we stay flat. They're not looking to raise rates. And I think over time, with the Trueflation data being on they're on a lag compared to Trueflation data, they're going to start to see the same inflation numbers we are, and some of the other data points that we're seeing as well by this next cut, which I think is happening when? Early March?
I think it's actually mid to late March. I think March 20 something. But yeah, we can check. We can check the exact date. But yeah, it was interesting. The breakdown of the votes, vast majority were no cut, and then you had two dissents who wanted to cut. Stephen Myron, who's a Trump appointee guy, and then Christopher Waller, who's one of the potential replacements for Powell. So both the two dubs voting for a 25 basis point cut. Didn't get it. Yeah, I watched the conference. It was mostly nothing burger. Again, just going back to what Nick said. He said they're going to be data dependent. They're not making predictions whether they're going to cut going through the rest of the year. They're going to look at the data. They think that the risk to inflation is about the same as the risk to employment. So, what's very interesting to me is what the heck data are these guys looking at?
Right.
Apparently, they're looking at very outdated data, and they're looking at data sets that aren't reflective of what's happening in real life. Or Trueflation's wrong.
But I mean,
or just the delay, I guess.
If you look at just the low-hanging fruit at real life, it's like, how are they seeing that inflation is flat or even higher in some cases over some time periods when you look outside and gas is way lower? Oil prices per barrel way lower. Housing prices have gone down, primarily due to mortgage rates not going up and deportations on the rise. So rental prices have gone down. You can look that up on Google right now and see a live data feed. Egg prices are down 95%. So it's just like when you live, soda prices are down, all the snacks from vending machines are down. So if you look at that, and then they're like, nope, inflation is the same. How? Like what numbers are you looking at? Because last time I checked, housing, fuel, oil, and food is a pretty big portion of inflation. And I can go look on any store or go look on the online on Google and look at live feeds, and everything has been trending down and continues to trend down. That's why I don't know. I don't know exactly, like you said, they are on a lag. They admit they're on a lag. They kind of work on a rolling quarter lag, just like stock market does for reporting and everything else. But also, it's like, if you're the government, why are you only using 20 data points, but free sources like Trueflation or Google Analytics are using thousands of live data points in AI technology? Like, why are you, as a government entity that spends billions and billions and billions of dollars and has, I don't know, 1,000 people on salary, utilizing archaic data? I don't get it.
Well, the cynic's take is that if you use fully transparent data that everyone else could see, the decision would almost be out of your hands, and they wouldn't be able to control as much as they want to control. So if the data is unclear, delayed, not complete, then all of a sudden you have a lot of interpretation that goes into that. And that gives them leeway to basically do whatever they want to do.
That gives them
they can make the data say whatever they want it to say. That's the cynic's take. I'm sure if we were to get someone who works in the Fed, they'd say, no, that's not how it's done. You know, we're above board, blah, blah, blah. One interesting point before we turn to the next story here. He did admit that a tariff-based inflation, the kind of what you saw on goods, imported goods, has been proven to be a one-time adjustment. It hasn't been a continuous up. It's been a one-time bump, and that's been the end of that. So that he basically admitted, and that's good news, and we're not worried about it.
How does that take a year? Well, how does that take a year? That's common sense. If you put a 10% tariff on something, and nothing else changes, even really, it could go down because demand could go down from that slight price increase, and then you actually settle back down to the original price. But if you put a 10% tariff on something, there's a one-time cost associated with that. Nothing for them changes on their manufacturing, their supply, their shipping, nothing. Costs them 10% more. They decide, do we pass all 10% on to the buyer? Do we pass on 5%? Do we pass on 0%? And if we pass on all 10, demand might go down, so price might actually go down too. So I don't understand. This is like economics 101. I don't know why it took a year for the Fed to admit this or realize this. But again, they like vagueness because that gives them the power. They can kind of do what they want. But it's just like, that is common sense. That's common sense.
To be fair, they had on previous press conferences said that that's what they believed was going to happen. So they've been on that for a while. But he said, okay, this is basically what happened. So we don't have to worry about tariff inflation anymore. Yeah, I mean, look, if the Trueflation data is correct and they are on a lag, and they are legit and not just making shit up as they go along, then yeah, in the next few readings, you'll see lower inflation.
Yeah, right now, but we'll go over to the next topic. But the next Federal Reserve discussion or potential rate cut is March 17th. So I'm sure there'll be a meeting on March 16th, just like there was for this month, and then there'll be a potential cut or no change on March 17th. You notice I don't throw in the interest rate hike because, again, they did talk about that is nobody's base case to raise rates. And right now, Polymarket has a 91% chance of no change, 8% chance of a 25 basis point cut, and a 1% chance of a 50 basis point cut as we stand today, with a meeting in 47 days from today.
Yeah, we'll see what data comes out. We got CPI, PCE, inflation data coming out. We got employment data, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm not convinced there's gonna be a cut. I think Trump needs to nominate the next guy ASAP. ASAP. Get the next guy's face out there. Get him talking. Get people thinking about the future and the dovish approach the Fed will be taking going forward in the latter half of the year. And that will render Powell a lame duck and basically make all these decisions mostly a moot point because people are just looking ahead of the new guy. So anyway,
how did the markets react? Gold surged, went up to like $5,500. Silver price I didn't check. I don't have that up on my screen over here. But here's the argument that you were talking about. Benjamin Cohen predicts no crypto rally from precious metal surge, and many people out here are discussing whether he's right or he is incorrect. Miles here says he is correct. Gold rallying does not guarantee a Bitcoin rotation, but it does is ensure the next time Bitcoin pumps, the ceiling is much higher. Fresh speculators will look at gold's market cap to justify potential upside, and the higher gold goes, the bigger price upside. So interesting here. I'm not going to give my full opinion here, but what I will say is a little fun fact about this. Next time Bitcoin pumps, the ceiling is much higher. Gold has added $9 trillion to its market cap just in the past couple months. That is over 3 times the market capitalization of the entire crypto market just in 3 months. And is now has a, $45 trillion market cap? So that is kind of Miles' point here. We were talking about when gold had a $30 trillion market cap. Holy cow, Bitcoin can do a freaking 15x to catch gold. Well, now gold has just added $9 trillion more to its market capitalization in just the last couple months, with it sitting here around $5,500 per ounce.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that yes, of course you won't have a full rotation. It won't be that, oh yeah, gold goes to 0, Bitcoin goes to 10 million. Like, no, of course not. But you don't need a full rotation. You need like 2 trillion to come over from not only just gold, but equities, money market accounts, cash accounts.
I mean, shit, even silver is now the second largest asset in the world. You take a look at there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's so many sources of potential money that will eventually rotate, at least a little bit of it, will rotate into Bitcoin. And because the market cap is so tiny, it doesn't take a lot of capital for it to pump. So, 2 things can be true at once. The one interesting thing about this run on gold, most of it is apparently being driven by nation states and central banks. It's not as much retail driven. I mean, I'm sure there are people lining up around the block and they're buying $1,500 worth of gold. That's not what has caused it to add $9 trillion to its market cap. But because apparently what's been happening is, I guess the nation state central banks, institutions, are seeing the writing on the wall with the U.S. dollar and the amount of debt that we're in as a country. They see the devaluation of the dollar as a continuing trend. They don't trust treasuries anymore, and why would they? They were never a good investment to begin with. And so China and these other countries, they're rotating out of those kind of assets and into gold. So do the central banks and those nation states rotate into Bitcoin? Maybe some of them over the long term. But again, it doesn't take a lot of money. $2 trillion for Bitcoin to do a double up.
Probably, yeah.
You can make it happen.
Yeah, 2 trillion came in. It probably does more than a double up, to be honest. I mean, I think its total market cap is 2 trillion, and market cap isn't a proxy of 1 for 1 due to supply and demand economics. So, but yeah, I mean, here's my point to it too. I think if you look at history, whether it was literally 2 months ago, whether it was 8 months ago, whether it was 5 years ago, when gold makes major tops, whether it dumps or whether it consolidates, Bitcoin catches a bid. So I'm not saying that is direct overflow capital from gold into Bitcoin. Maybe it's also a proxy of, kind of the market sentiment, liquidity conditions, etc. But that's happened 2 months ago, 8 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you look at the charts, line them up together. Major tops in gold have been major bottoms on Bitcoin multiple times. When gold goes down or sideways, Bitcoin has been able to catch a bid. On this recent surge in gold, go look at the chart. Bitcoin was like $100,000 and has done nothing but down and to the right as gold has gone up and to the right from $4,800 up to $5,500. So there has to be some kind of admission of correlation there. And again, it's not going to be everybody full porting, selling their gold to buy Bitcoin. That's not how it works. But there is going to be some profit taking over there to come and go from analog to digital. And then also maybe it's more of a proxy of market environment. Because if gold is taking a breather, that's because there's more regulatory certainty. There's more safety nets feeling in the market itself. There's better liquidity going on in the investment markets versus gold. Less fears, less uncertainty equals, more safety in the markets, more understanding in the markets, and that's when markets do well. And then you can argue, well, Nick, the stocks are at all-time high. Well, that's because Trump has been doing pretty well, but the stocks that are all-time highs aren't these risk-on assets by proxy. It's not all the small caps. We talked about, the Russell 5000 once last week because it was doing well. But other than that, it's been everything else but Bitcoin and Ethereum. Do you think that changes? Do you think precious metals have absolutely nothing to do with that? I think it's a lot of the same crowd. A lot of the people who became gold bugs and silver bugs and Bitcoin OGs and Ethereum speculative risk-on assets, they initially started to kind of be the anarchy against the government, to kind of have the protections against the government, to kind of have these protections, this privacy, this hard physical asset, this real value that can't be printed away into oblivion. And that's why I do think that we do see the role rotations historically. It's kind of the same group of people. I'm not saying all the boomers are getting into Bitcoin, but it's kind of the same ideology that bred both of these asset classes, and we'll see how they affect each other moving forward here.
There's definitely an overlap there. And to go back to, let's say, my base case of we only need $2 trillion to move in from every other liquid asset class, including gold, silver, equities, etc., to move into Bitcoin for us to do, a 2 or 3x on Bitcoin. 2 trillion is 5% of the total market cap of gold. You can't tell me that there aren't 5% of gold investors who are looking now at the gold chart having gone absolutely parabolic, completely overbought territory, and looking around and saying, where else can I put some of my gains? And again, it's not going to be every single one, but I'm talking about 5% of the gold investors. You don't think they're going to look around and say, I got to sell high and find out somewhere else to buy low? 5% people can't be savvy in that asset class. And they'll look around, and almost everything else is at all-time highs. The only thing that's not at all-time highs is Bitcoin. So
yeah, I mean, you look here, gold almost $39 trillion, silver to 6.7 trillion. Why does this number actually matter to me more than gold number? Because it wasn't long ago that Bitcoin actually flipped silver, and everybody was talking about that as a major milestone. It wasn't long ago. I don't remember the exact months. Was it 6 months, a year ago? I don't know. When Bitcoin was 120,000, not even at its high, it was flipped silver, was worth more than silver, less than a year ago. And now silver is 6.72 trillion and Bitcoin is 1.73 trillion. So if you're not in the camp of let's not look at high watermarks, let's not look at gold. What about recent history when Bitcoin was just worth more than silver and now silver decided to do a 4x? And
Oh, looks like we lost Nick for a second there. Yeah, I can't remember when silver was less valuable than Bitcoin. I haven't paid attention to silver in a long time, other than like a week ago, starting a week ago. So, Nick, I guess hopefully you're back there, bud. But yeah, man, you can't tell me that we can't find $2 trillion worth of assets or worth of capital coming to Bitcoin here. I just refuse to believe that. When that happens, I do not know. We do need ultimately we need a cool off on these on the price pump on Bitcoin. On gold and silver. We need to cool off and a consolidation. Up until then, I don't really see. I mean, we saw. I guess Facebook did well because they beat earnings, but even the stock market's a little bit muted. Because man, we are just ripping and roaring on gold and silver here. When do you think we get that sort of finally get a top? I mean, it has to top out at some point.
I don't know. I mean, I was really looking at a top on gold around 5,000. Big mental barrier, had the big run up, and it just surged again. It did kind of slow down there. We saw the slowdown on gold, but as soon as the Fed didn't cut rates again, that's when it surged. During that announcement yesterday, surging at $500, which isn't percentage-wise, isn't all that much. I know it gets all the headlines, but what is that, like 1% or something like that? But it is wild to see here that they're continuing to run because this is a big parabolic move. I think now is at the point kind of like we did with the Solana chart where you put the parabola on these things, and when they break down, you're going to have that big breakdown and correction. But until then, parabolas can keep running until they stop running. So there's nothing really on the indicators that can say, hey, this is a major top, because why? Gold has now been overbought 1, 2, 3, 4 times just this year, which is why you're seeing a parabola. Silver, very similar chart. Technometer overbought, RSI overbought, parabolic run, and the musical chairs. The music stops when volume starts decreasing and this parabola breaks. And they are getting pretty vertical, so you think somewhere up here you have to have a consolidation. That's what you want to see for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Percentage-wise, not that crazy. Headline-wise, chart-looking-wise, and the patience from these OGs, shout out to them. I think gold got about a 2x in the past from this rally. Silver about a 4x from this rally. And we'll see how it all plays out. I don't know what else you guys heard there, but yeah, the last time that Bitcoin most recently flipped silver was just back in November 12th of 2024. So just about a year ago, Bitcoin did flip silver. It was big news. Holy cow, analog being replaced by digital. And now all of a sudden, silver on this 4x rally and is 3.5x market capitalization higher than Bitcoin here. And that's why when people are like, oh, Bitcoin can't do this, can't do that. Silver is 3.5x bigger than Bitcoin. What is the 3.5x just of current Bitcoin price? That's very high. So, I think this shows you that even the largest assets, even the analog assets, massive market capitalizations, global assets, though, can move big percentages when you're not looking. And 2x for gold is massive considering now it's worth $40 trillion.
Yeah, if anyone thinks Bitcoin can't go on a parabolic move, they haven't been here in 2017. They weren't here in 2021. It can happen. It will happen. Again, when it happens is anybody's guess. Right now, sentiment is absolutely cooked. I'm in the trenches, so to speak, on X, and man, people are angry. They're pissed. They're blaming CZ. They're blaming Binance. They're blaming each other. They're blaming who knows what. But it's pretty ugly out there. I'll just say this before we get into any of those specific stories. We've lived through far worse when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto. We've lived through true existential crises where I thought for a few minutes there that perhaps Bitcoin and crypto and alts were going to be dead forever. I mean, who remembers the crash of Ethereum from $1,400 to $90? I lived through that. That was pretty scary. Who remembers when FTX blew up and then Biden tried to sue every single company out of existence and tried to debank everyone who was connected to crypto in any way, shape, or form? They tried to do that. Operation Choke Point. You can look it up. There's still that battle going on now, apparently, between Coinbase and the banks over this market structure bill. So anyway, we've lived through plenty of existential crises. This is not that. This is just envy. This is just, I'm pissed because my favorite investment that I believe in isn't running, while the one that I didn't like and didn't invest in because I thought it was for old fogies is going parabolic. And I'm just angry about it. That doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to zero, though.
Yeah, and this is what you're talking about with the market structure bill. Apparently, this is huge, obviously. Could be a turning point today and really turn the market. But what are your thoughts here? Huge. The U.S. Senate votes on the crypto market structure bill today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. This is one of the most important regulatory moments for crypto in years. Clear rules mean institutional capital unlocked, compliance risk drops, long-term adoption accelerates. Markets are not priced for regulatory clarity. Volatility is guaranteed. Now, I do believe that the crypto market structure bill is absolutely massive. I do believe that it needs to be passed, probably will be passed in the Q1 of this year. But do you think it gets passed right now? Or do you think there's some people voting nay or not voting on it altogether due to Coinbase and some of the conflicts that some of the crypto stocks have with some of the new additions to these bills?
Well, I do think, and we predicted this a few shows ago, that Trump was going to strong arm the parties, bring them together, and make them hash it out and compromise and ultimately pass the bill. And that's what we've seen happen. Apparently, the White House literally called a meeting between Coinbase and their lobbyists and that side of the aisle, or that side of the argument, and the banks. He called a meeting. I don't know who was in attendance. I don't know if Trump himself was there, but he's doing his damnedest to bring the parties together and get a deal hashed out. I think it's going to be one of these things where neither side really gets everything that they want, but that we do get something passed. The thing with the stable coins is pretty existential to the banks, meaning if you all of a sudden allow every average everyday retail customers, whatever, to earn 5% just holding stable coins, that really does kill the whole bank's business.
Yeah,
they don't want that. And we need banks. And we still need banks. We can't sit here and be like, we don't need banks. Just let them all go under. F them, and we'll build up from the ashes of whatever's, we burned it all down and we'll build it back. No. You guys you don't want to live in that world. We still need banks. Let's just admit that us crypto degens and crypto natives, we're the crazy ones. There's only about 5% of us that exist anyway. So the banks need to survive. But can you find a way so that customers, maybe a certain class of customers, can utilize stable coins and earn some degree of yield on them? I don't know. Let's figure out a way to hash this out and come to terms. No one's going to get everything they want, but we need to get this deal passed. And that's, I think, the message Trump needs to send.
Yeah, I was really surprised. You know, my thing would be like USDC is already doing APR. I just figured that, you know, Coinbase, with their lobbying, would get the benefit of the doubt. USDC is Coinbase's token, and they would get the head nod, and a lot of these other ones wouldn't. But I guess what the case is, it's like, okay, they can blackball USDT or die, these crypto companies. But we see BlackRock, JP Morgan, and we're going to get to a story with Fidelity launching their own stablecoins. And you really can't give them the shaft. They're the big dogs. They have more money than even Coinbase. So I guess that's where you get in the gray area where you can't really just say, all right, USDC is good, everybody else is bad. Because now we see all these traditional companies, traditional investment firms, AUM providers wanting to create their own stablecoin. So that's probably where the argument stands.
Yeah, all these banks want to do their own stablecoin. Some of them may be yield generating, some maybe not. They may be just for back office, you know, transactions. Some of them, but either way, look, we need to get this deal passed. We need to get market structure bill in place. This is a priority of the Trump administration. It needs to get done before the midterms, well before the midterms. Here's a window. They've been working on it for a long time now, many, many months. Just get something done. Not everyone's going to be happy. It's not going to make Coinbase super happy, I'm sure. There's going to be things they don't love about it. I'm sure the banks won't get everything they want. But at the end of the day, it will provide clarity for this asset class. It will reduce manipulation. It will incentivize more institutions to enter and more retail to enter the space because they'll feel more comfortable in it. We need all of that to happen. So figure out the stablecoin yield stuff, guys. Like, get your shit together, get something passed. It's for the good of the industry.
Well, we'll see here in a few hours what the result is, see if they figure something out. And it is pretty good timing because the infrastructure is being built. All the big dogs are getting into play. We saw that like 60% of the top 25 U.S. banks now are creating products for Bitcoin, stablecoins, and blockchain technology. And we have a decoupling in price, meaning an undervalued relatively to stock market and relatively to precious metals in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if you go out there and do the Clarity Act and you're preaching that companies and banks and retail should get involved, at least you're getting an asset at a lower price and you're not doing it at 126,000 where people have a seemingly higher risk or a larger chance of losing money, which leaves you with pie on your face. So I think timing is good, infrastructure is good, and just the decoupling in prices makes it a good point and a good action point here for Trump. Obviously, we have the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. If it's true that China is ones that are accumulating a ton of gold and selling a lot of U.S. treasuries, well, you got to know that Trump doesn't like that gold is now $5,500. Even though we own gold, he's been diverting some of his efforts, some of his manpower, some of his funding and tax dollars to raising Bitcoin capital and getting this Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in place. And if China's kind of going around that and doing well with their gold holdings, you know Trump's got to hate it.
So that's an interesting point, which I want to get to, the kind of the political side of it all. But I do want to give a shout out to our loyal listeners here who are over on YouTube. Thank you guys. We got AJ West. Good morning. AJ bought the dip, the dip. Excuse me, on MSDR.
You sounded like Looney Tunes there.
Sorry, he bought the MSDR dip at 152. Good for you, man. Buying the dips. That's how you make it over the long haul. Good morning, Martin. Good to see you. Good morning, Meek Chapo. Fat Sammy in the house. Perhaps a good reminder that we will be doing a Spaces later on our X later today. Bitcoin, like Bitcoin 82, so we can start going up again. Yeah, maybe, Nick, you want to pull up the chart. I guess we're crashing as we speak. The Paradise dump is in effect. And then what level do we need to hit for it to start going back up again? My goodness.
So this is MicroStrategy chart. We warned you guys of the inverse Adam and Eve, saying that was a bullish formation, and the breakdown below $240 would lead you to a downside risk to $135 per share. Well, look at that. That is what has been happening here. We are down to 146. So I still think there is downside risk to 134. But if Bitcoin finds a footing, MicroStrategy is going to start ripping and start its next leg higher. I will say for you who just dollar cost average bought more, it's not a terrible time. You got a new lower low off a double bullish divergence where you see RSI is holding higher while price is going lower, and you're neutral on technometer, which means there is upside potential here. But, downside risk still 135. If you sold anywhere up here when we gave you the warning, or if you even sold the breakdown, you're still looking good here. And again, MicroStrategy fails and only goes to zero if Bitcoin fails and goes to zero as well. It's all about your time horizon for MicroStrategy. If you believe in Bitcoin, I still think it's a great asset to hold. and they have a bunch of different assets within their ecosystem that do pay yield while we wait for Bitcoin to find a footing. But again, we kind of showed this inverse Adam and Eve. We showed the downside price targets. Right now, you do have a bullish divergence, but you still have downside risk of another $10 per share there. So be careful. If Bitcoin does go down, MicroStrategy will hit that target. Bitcoin, oh man, see, I didn't see this. I saw like 87, 88,000 when we were getting ready for the live show. And today, as we're live, what happened? Stop hitting the sell button over there, Crypto Amaru. You liar, trying to get liquidity. $85,300 for Bitcoin, still holding the previous lows here back in December, and of course still holding the lows over here that were made in November. Those are two important lows. Let's see what's going to happen. Kind of interesting that we're seeing a sell-off with this potential Clarity Act vote today, but maybe their transcript is out. Maybe rumors are swirling. Maybe it's not going to get passed again, which isn't all that surprising if they haven't worked out some of their issues. Down 4.3% for Bitcoin. Wow. Ethereum down 6.5%, losing the $3,000 mark that we just re-achieved yesterday, down to $2,800. Now back to the Bitcoin chart here. I just want to show this because we talked about this yesterday on this chart right here. We said you want to get back above this white line, otherwise this does look like a bearish rejection point, and look what has happened. It rejected, and now we have seen multiple red candles. Doesn't look good, Crypto Amaru. I'm not waving the white flag yet, but man, it does not look good. The bears are saying we're going to go somewhere around $40,000. With major support around $60,000. I'm in the camp that if we do sell off again, there's major support at $69,000 to $70,000, the previous high from last cycle. But I'm still in the camp that, hey, all the macros and everything going on, I cannot believe that we would get down there. Now you can say, well, Nick, even with the great macros, you could still be in a bear market. Just the bear market ends a lot quicker. We get to the previous high at $69,000 to $70,000. Boom, done. And that happened in 6 months rather than a year and a half, which wouldn't be horrendous, I guess. And then we can start our march higher throughout the end of this year. But it's just crazy to think where gold and silver are, where equities are, liquidity is coming, interest rates have gone down, and Bitcoin is floundering here in the same range between $80,000 to $90,000 here for 3 months.
Well, that's the key. It is still in the range. It's in the $85,000 to $95,000 range. Certainly, if we break below 80, then I think it's a different ballgame. But that hasn't happened yet. We didn't get the rate cuts, I guess the market maybe would have wanted to see. Gold's running. People are, who knows, they're rotating out of Bitcoin into gold. Who knows? The market makers are liquidating people. Who knows what's going on? But we still haven't broken down out of that $85,000 to $95,000 range. So I'm staying cautiously optimistic. We could have some green candles tomorrow. This will be a distant memory. Or who knows? We break down further, and it could be the start of the start. Well, I mean, let's just put it this way: if we do break down further, and the 4-year cycles were right, I think then you would say that the bear market started in October on 10/10, and this is perhaps a good segue into the Binance FUD, unless you want to check out some more charts. But if this is the bear market, then haven't we been here since 10/10?
No shit. So let's just wrap this up. Fidelity, we already talked about this, doing a stable coin themselves, and now you can go ahead and talk about Binance FUD. What's going on there?
Yeah, man. So obviously, we all know what happened on 10/10. Actually, the crazy thing is we don't really know what happened on 10/10, and I do think there does need to. It's kind of weird because I was thinking about this. If any other crypto company, or almost any other crypto company, something catastrophic happens to their token price or their product goes down, people lose money, whatever. There is a deep dive into what happened internally, and then there are reports issued by that company as to what happened, how did it go down, why did it go down, what are they going to do to fix it next time, how are they going to make sure it doesn't happen again. We saw this happen with countless crypto companies. I remember Mantra crashed for some reason. I forget why, but remember Mantra was like a big RWA chain that was like doing super well and then like crashed to zero, and they had to do a whole synopsis and a whole we effed up and here's what happened and why it won't happen again. We haven't seen that from Binance, to my knowledge. If we've seen it, I haven't noticed it. It's been kind of like, well, our internal controls failed. Some glitch happened. A glitch, just a glitch. Nothing to see here. Meanwhile, billions and billions are wiped out, and the wreckage is still with us. And what I'm seeing now is kind of a groundswell of organic, I think it's organic grievances. I don't even want to call it FUD at this point. Like, FUD implies that it's completely false and just manufactured and inorganic. This is like organic complaints from people who lost money, either directly or indirectly, as a result of what happened on 10/10. And CC's out here saying it's, planned FUD, it's a coordinated attack. Where is the report? Where is the evidence? And by the way, the report should include data points. Here's what happened on the blockchain. Here's the data showing exactly what happened internally with our systems. Not just a story, not just a Twitter thread. I'm talking about actual data to support what happened and why it won't ever happen again. So yeah, I mean, I'm pissed off too. If you can't tell, I do not think this is coordinated FUD. Something bad happened on 10/10. We're still feeling the wreckage of it. And what pisses me off is we've got no transparency or basically recognition from Binance that they effed up, and here's what they're going to do to fix it.
Yeah, because the first day or two after it happened, CZ actually did go on his tour, did some videos, and kind of was very sure that it wasn't on Binance. It was on Coinbase and one of the market makers. And the longer time has gone up, I don't know what's real and what's not, but it looks like more red flags are pointing to Binance versus Coinbase and or that market maker, which is pretty interesting to see there. Maybe
I haven't
CZ
seen a lot of FUD on Coinbase.
Whatever.
It was really, maybe he tried a little shade at Coinbase, so I think that was, no one picked up on that. It was basically Wintermute versus Binance. They tried to blame Wintermute blaming Binance. I don't know why Wintermute hasn't come out and said stuff. I mean, obviously,
they probably got destroyed in it too. They're the ones selling right now to shore up their balance sheets.
Yeah. But you'd
it's
expect
like, hey, it wasn't our fault, but now we're
NDAs
fucking the market for the past three months.
I'm sure there's NDAs, and they obviously have business relationships. Money's on the line. They're probably not going to want to throw their biggest client under the bus if it was Binance. And then the question is, like, did it happen intentionally? So we knew internal controls, price controls failed on that day. Prices got all out of whack. It caused a cascade of liquidations. Everyone got wrecked, and now there's consistent selling to shore up those people that, I guess, that anyone who lost money is, they're trying to sell whatever assets they have to make up for their losses. That's the story as I understand it. How did the price control fail? What happened? Why did it fail? I guess they used their own internal pricing oracles. They didn't use the external decentralized oracles. I don't know, man. It's ugly. I will say this. For everyone who's upset about the situation, upset at Binance, you got to vote with your dollars. And by that, I mean, if you got money on the exchanges, by the way, any exchange, I think, get it off the exchange. Move over to centralized trading. If you want to do perpetuals trading, by the way, if you really need to do perps, because Binance obviously offers that, move over to Hyperliquid. Don't go to Aster. I'm sure that's a scam place too. Go over to Hyperliquid. The point is, you can do everything you want to do in crypto without ever really touching a centralized exchange, except to cash back out to fiat. That's where you guys all need to get to if you hate Binance so much. So, make your grievances heard. I'd love to see a report from Binance. I'd love to see, by the way, not even an internal investigation, also an external investigation. Really, we need to see someone who's not a biased party needs to come in and review everything. That if this was the regular markets and something like this happened, there are obviously big market makers that provide liquidity and so on for the regular markets. There's the New York Stock Exchange. There's the NASDAQ. Imagine something happened on NASDAQ between themselves and the market maker. All of a sudden, the prices on the Amazon stock dropped 30-40%. Billions got wiped out on people who were holding leverage. And we just kind of went, oh, yeah, no, nothing to see here. No investigation. No reports. No one's made whole. This is why we need the market structure bill, by the way.
We got Martin Max King here saying, am I the only one who remembers Tom Lee 180K prediction for Bitcoin by the end of January this year? LOL. He's still got 2 days to go. He's got 2 days. We saw what gold could do in 2 days. Bitcoin could do it too.
Oh, the hopium is strong today, folks. Oh man, yeah. I've said it many times. Tom Lee needs to get out of the short-term price prediction game. He's still out there doing it. Now he's talking about like February. He's like, okay, we didn't hit, didn't hit my target in January, so February is going to be the month we all get ready. Bro, it's not going to happen in a month.
Right. If you think
Probably.
we were bullish on crypto, Jesus, Thomas Lee, ultimate bullish. Now, shout out to Tom Lee and the Ethereum Strategic Reserves. I think they're doing a very good thing in buying Ethereum. They're compounding staking rewards, and I think they're going to be big winners when and if Ethereum goes up. But yeah, these short-term prediction numbers are pretty insane. Some of the numbers he's throwing out there is pretty crazy. So, anyways, the SEC chair says now is the right time to open the 12.5 trillion 401k retirement market to crypto. I would agree with him. Number one, you can watch his video if you want. He talks about kind of the infrastructure that's going into place, the clarity that's going to be coming from the Clarity Act that hopefully gets passed today, and also getting people involved in these assets, these new assets, at lower prices. And what do you know? Bitcoin's at 85,000. It's much better to start informing people to put 1 to 5% of their 401k retirement money into assets at 85K rather than 126K. Or even $2,500 rather than $5,000. So this would be a good opportunity not only for crypto holders, but also for new investors, 401k investors, to be buying the dip on some of the largest assets that we think are going to remain here, remain relevant, and are the future of investments and the future of technology. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely better to buy the dip, like our boy AJ West, planning to buy the dip all the way down, every $1,000 dip in Bitcoin. Let's effing go.
Let's hope it's not many. Let's hope it's not many thousands of dips.
Yeah,
right?
true. You know, buying a falling knife is always a risky thing, but hey, every time I've bought into the fear, it's worked out. I don't have any dry powder left, but in any event, yeah, we've needed this. We've talked about it. Trump has signed an executive order saying that the financial markets need to open up 401ks to crypto. That already happened, like 4 or 5 months ago. Remember, we talked about it extensively. It hasn't been put into effect yet, and that does need to happen. I don't know if it requires further like legislation, or is the executive order sufficient? From a legal standpoint, I'm not entirely sure. Is it just the infrastructure, the brokerage firms and the banks and the exchanges and so on need to lay the architecture to enable this to happen? I don't know what's holding it up, but it needs to happen. I think it will happen. When it happens, I don't know. Probably, my guess is sometime after this Clarity Act gets passed, right? We need the Clarity Act passed before most, let's say, average everyday retail are comfortable, and most companies are willing to, enter the market in a meaningful way. So let's get the Clarity bill passed, and then that's going to open up the massive 401k market to crypto.
And again, here's another big asset pool, 12.5 trillion. And the recommendation that I've been saying since 2017 is that institutions were going to come into play and say 1 to 3% of your portfolio into Bitcoin. Well, now they're pushing for bigger numbers, upwards of 5%. Some numbers even say 10%. So if you talk about 5% of 12.5 trillion here, you talk about 1 to 5% of silver's $6 trillion, 1 to 5% of gold's $40 trillion, 1 to 5% of the 8 trillion that's in money markets. And you can start doing the math, and you're like, holy cow, that is many multiples of even what the current entire crypto market capitalization is worth, is sitting out there being told, informed to invest 1 to 5% in Bitcoin or blockchain technologies. That's what is going on, and it takes time for that to happen, but that is the reality. And when do these flows start coming in more heavily? Well, when there's green candles. When were the ETF inflows the largest? When there was green candles. When was did you see more headlines around the Ethereum ETF and possible dividend payments and all these upgrades? When there's green candles. So it's like a chicken before the egg right now. Like, how do we get green candles to spur all the other adoption? Because there's so much money sitting out there. That's the answer we don't have. We need some QE. We need some interest rate cuts. But how else do we get it? Like, what is going on here? Who is selling? Because seemingly, we have MicroStrategy buying, we have Thomas Lee buying, we have SharpLink Gaming buying, and I did a quote tweet of this one as well. Even in Japan, where they're having literally a meltdown, MetaPlanet targets a $137 million raise to buy more Bitcoin. So, all these big players are buying, but price is still going down while everything around us holds strong or is rising.
I think it's further evidence the market is manipulated in crypto. You can have a few players, market makers, exchanges, coordinated selling, coordinated buying. We've seen it happen. I mean, the chain doesn't lie, right? So, there is that goes on in crypto. And I just think right now, retail is not interested whatsoever. It's the diehard true believers left, but we don't have any dry powder for the most part. Hasn't been QE, hasn't been new entrants. We've lived through worse, though, guys. We've lived through absolutely worse. We're still at 85K, at least for now. And I'm not willing to wave the white flag yet. But I do want to circle back to a comment that AJ West made. He's had a couple of great comments. Actually, we'll get to both. Any chance when exchanges had that glitch, the liquidations, the exchanges bought Bitcoin just to stop the bleeding and are now slowly selling it back into the market? Yeah, actually, that is the prevailing view, I think, at this point. That's the prevailing theory. But again, what's so weird is that you haven't had any notable crypto, influencer or insider come out and say, this is definitely what happened. How is it that we don't really know exactly what happened?
Right. Thomas Lee's hinted at it as well, that's his thoughts and ideas based on the information he has, but even he won't talk about it. So I think there's just a whole nother level of NDAs, not wanting to step on each other's feet because it affects your bottom dollar going on between Binance, Wintermute, Thomas Lee, all these strategic reserves. I don't know. But yeah, how is it still that we're just in this gray area all these months later when it's bigger than we all thought? Because look at the prices on the charts.
Yeah, exactly. It's really weird, but I do think NDAs, business, like you said, and who knows, maybe, why wouldn't Saylor come out and talk about it? Well, maybe it's not in his interest to throw pie on, the industry as a whole. He doesn't want people to lose further confidence. I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. That's the scary part. When it ends, again, no one knows. But we've lived through worse, guys. We lived through a crash. Who remembers the crash on ETH? Because I like to go to that one because it hurt me more. $1,400 ETH at the top of the 2017-2018 peak to $90 ETH a year later. Right. You guys are complaining about a 30 or 40% correct.
Yeah, and Bitcoin was $20,000 down to like $3,500, and that's what AJ's talking about here. Hey, Nick, been watching you since 2017. Didn't you mortgage your house just to buy more Bitcoin? I remember you talking about it. Yeah, in 2018, near the low, it was, by the time paperwork, whatever, but live on air, I signed the documentation to remortgage my old house. So get a new mortgage, get that extra equity to buy Bitcoin at $3,500 or $4,000. That's kind of where I went heavy into crypto, where I started talking about it forever, and that's how we've kind of made it into a business, whether it's through Patreon, Learn Crypto here, Crypto Paradise, Ferrum, whatever it was due to that buy. Because at the time, yes, I work in institutional finance. Everybody hears the name, oh, the glitz, the glamour. Remember, that was a decade ago, and I was a low man on the pedestal. So I got hired there for like 40K plus bonuses, and probably by 2018, I was making maybe 55 or 60K plus bonuses. That ain't all that much when you're single with a 4-bedroom house and have a car and got to commute and all this. So I remortgaged that house to buy that Bitcoin, and that was kind of my big, really, really big tranche into Bitcoin, which happened to be a major low. As you know, after that, we went to $14,000. Then we consolidated when China banned it down to about $9,000 before the ultimate run that we saw there up to $69,000 after the COVID crash. So, good times. For sure, did that. That's kind of why I'm still here today. Without that balls, I wouldn't have been able to upgrade to this house. I wouldn't be doing this right now probably with you. And I would still probably be, maybe not in a cubicle anymore. I'd probably have an office by now. Would be making 6 figures, but I'd be miserable doing
it. Very true. Yeah, the golden handcuffs are real. Better to break out of that, take a little bit of risk, live life on your own terms. That's absolutely true. So, I'm seeing some great comments, by the way, conversation happening over in the comments section. Fat Sammy, by the way, welcome to the show, my friend. Hope you're well. Hope you jump on the spaces later, too. That's in a couple hours. I only know bear market, but I'm still bullish. Makes no sense. And to that, I will say, in order to do well in crypto, you need to be a little bit crazy. You need to be a little bit delusional. First of all, hold through the volatility. Second of all, to believe in this nascent asset class that most people haven't accepted and most people actually hate and think you're crazy for being a part of. But if you are crazy enough, delusional enough, ask the guys who bought in 2013 whether they're happy that they decided to go a little bit effing crazy and hold for 10 damn years, and now they're cashing out as billionaires.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, too. We talk about all the people still hating on it. When I got involved in 2016 and then I went public in 2017, there was a lot more hate. So when I worked in that investment firm, I was the oddball out. Aren't you doing this Bitcoin mining thing? What are you doing? And then when it rained from $1,000 to 20, they're like, are you selling? Holy cow, help me. What is this? What is that? It's funny how price changes people's perspective. And I always go back to this. Yes, it isn't fun, but if you zoom out, Bitcoin is still $85,000. In 2016, it was 500. 2017, it was 1,000 to 20,000. So you're still up and to the right. The trend is still your friend. The number of people that are accepting of it and accepting of you for liking it and understanding it is increased. You got BlackRock involved, Fidelity involved, JP Morgan. When I got involved, all those people thought I was an idiot. Why? Because I worked for one of them. I worked for Summit Strategies, institutional financial advisor, got acquired by Pavilion, then got acquired by Marsh McLellan. They're not as big as JP Morgan or any of those, but that's the same line of industry. So I was the weirdo, I was the outcast, and now they're looking at how do you invest in those type of products, and the big dogs are literally creating products for their clients to invest in. So the trend is still our friend. It doesn't feel good. Fat Shamey, if you've only known Bear, it's probably because you watched Richard Hart, but you didn't really get involved with Hex. And then you hopped on the train with Pulse Chain. And, if you just hold the blue chips, it's down and to the right. And I know I've seen you with EMIT, so you made money there. PTGC, you made money there. Surf, hopefully you made money there. We made some money, but it still doesn't feel euphoric. It still isn't good when the underlying assets, Ethereum hasn't gone to a new high in 5 years. Pulse Chain hasn't gone to a new all-time high since launch. 3 years. So yeah, there's a lot of people that were born in the bear market, and I truly believe, that you will be rewarded in the next bull. Why? Because you'll have a better understanding, you'll be able to react faster, and you'll have some kind of money in the trenches in your portfolio. Maybe it's down right now, but you'll have allocations. You'll catch that first wave of green candles that most people are going to miss.
You absolutely have to pay your dues if you want to make it in crypto. I mean, this is a cutthroat industry. It is PvP for the most part, and it is very hard to make money the first, say, 6 months, 1 year you're in the space. Even if it's a bull run, by the way. You're going to get wrecked and scammed, and you're going to round trip stuff. Even if it's a bull run, it's hard to make money if you're a newbie. So you need to weather the storms, gain that experience. Usually it's on your second bull run that you finally start to make money. And that was the same thing for me. I got involved 2017, mid 2017, didn't have a lot of money at the time in the markets because I was like broke, young guy, basically. I was working as a lawyer, but I was still pretty broke. Living in New York, life's expensive. And so, got in what I could, did very well for a while on that, let's call it summer to end of 2017. Bitcoin was going nuts. So was Ethereum and Litecoin. That was my other favorite one. The 3 assets you could buy back then, just on Coinbase. And then by the end of 2017, alt season was in full effect, right? And you're hearing stories about people getting rich, investing in this, that, the other thing. Ant shares. I don't even know. All these random fucking projects. They're all dead now. But people were getting rich, so you start to get involved in the trenches a little bit. And that was back when you had to go on like Binance or maybe KuCoin. I think Binance was open to US at the time. There were no DEXs. That didn't even exist. The technology wasn't there. So you had to go on these centralized exchanges. But you're getting wrecked because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're buying the tops. Insiders are crushing you. And, lost a bunch of money. Basically at the end of 2017. And then decided for some crazy reason to actually go full-time crypto in 2018. And that was when we crashed even more. I mean, we went from, again, 1,400 down to 90. So like mid-2018, it's like, why the heck did I leave my cushy corporate job to go into this crazy industry? See, I was sure I was looked at like a crazy person too. But you keep building, you keep working, you make connections, you learn, develop some skills. I don't know whether you're good at trading or whether you want to do marketing, community building, or research. I don't know. Find your niche. You get good at it. And then, look, COVID changed everything, if I'm being honest, right? Because that was when QE started. They started to pump money in the economy to save, whatever, from no one was working during COVID. And that money found its way into crypto. And everything started to pump like crazy. We had a massive alt season. So that was really the only time I ever made money. Little bit, in 20, I guess we did make a bit of money like 2022, 2020, or what's 23, maybe 24, maybe a little bit. But to Frank's point, we got another bear market number 2 for alts. Yeah, man, hasn't felt good. But my long story short, my little diatribe there is, first of all, hang in there. Second of all, you need a couple cycles to actually make it in crypto, in my opinion. Find something that you like, lean into that, find something you're good at, and eventually you will make money when the wider macro forces are aligned and money is flowing into crypto.
Frank says different times, boys. AI and metals and twat Powell stole the alt season. Well, definitely so far because Bitcoin had a good season. Alts did nothing. Ethereum still no new all-time high for 5 years. So I would agree with you partially here. But again, this could go into the fact that 4-year cycle is not a thing. We hold these $80,000 level. We hold higher than the previous high, and the bull market continues. And Bitcoin and Ethereum play catch-up. Ethereum did get close. It went to 4,800, 4,600, 4,500, 4,800 again. But no 5,000, no new all-time high, and relatively a disaster for the entire crypto market besides Bitcoin, which ran from $16,000 to $126,000.
I like this comment here from Sammy. Man, it's like we got punished for seeing the value too early. I mean, I guess you got punished if you look at it like, yeah, you would have bought gold and done really well, or bought silver and done really well, but instead you bought Bitcoin and didn't do well, or whatever, ETH or whatever. But I don't think you would have bought gold or silver. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anyone your age, I know Fat Sam, you're probably a little younger than me. People our generation, younger, we weren't going to buy freaking gold and silver and all. In all likelihood, maybe you're one of those guys that, I love metals and I was going to get into it. I'm guessing you wouldn't have. And so, yes, temporarily your assets aren't doing well and other assets are. But if your time horizon is 5 years, 10 years, as it should be, trust me, your Bitcoin investment's going to do well, your ETH investment's going to do well, your other altcoins that are going to catch a bid and maybe get some luck and have community and good products, etc., those will do well. So your time will come, man. Your time will absolutely come. But we need the wider macro conditions to sort of align. And like Frank said, Powell stole our alt season.
We kind of covered all the news. We covered all the charts. The green, Pulsion had green days 2 days in a row, and then it gave up all the green today on this drop. So 2 good green days, 1 bad red day. We take a couple steps forward, we give it back, but we're still holding, right? So, yeah, you got to make lighthearted these things. The biggest things I think are the headlines are Fidelity getting in the stablecoin game, Clarity Act vote today. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, the Supreme Court ruling on tariffs. When is that going to happen? That's a big deal as well. No rate cut, but Powell wasn't very hawkish, more neutral or dovish. And, I would expect Trump needs to make a move and just call the guy's name out so people can start looking forward, because those guys are going to be supremely dovish. And Trump has been hinting at that, hey, the guy I pick is going to be dovish. We're getting more interest rate cuts with or without Paul starting in May. But hopefully March 17th, we can get back on the bandwagon of cutting interest rates. Maybe they see some of the inflation data that we're living with, the truflation data, etc., and we can continue this QE and cheaper liquidity to help pump our assets.
That's a nice synopsis. I do want to add one more point here before we jump. The reason why the market is crashing right now, I don't think it's to do with Powell. I think, once again, our boy Trump, he's scaring the markets. He's scaring the world because the military is moving an armada, a fleet, towards Iran. And he is threatening Iran at this point, right? That tweet, I think, came out just yesterday. Basically said, come to the negotiating table around your nuclear armament and perhaps around the protesters. Although I think they already killed thousands of protesters, by the way. The Iranian regime just killed thousands of these people. No, where are the liberals protesting that, by the way? You were so mad when there was a war in Gaza and the Israelis killed a few thousand, Hamas terrorists, and unfortunately some innocents too. Meanwhile, the Iranian regime has literally just slaughtered thousands of innocent protesters. But anyway, Trump has moved an armada into I don't know where exactly the fleet is located now, and I think the Iranians are now conducting like military exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. You can look it up. Maybe pull this up on X or something like that. But I think that probably is why gold is running again. Oh, Trump doing scary shit. World is in chaos. I'm scared. Safe haven. Versus anything Powell did, which is Powell didn't do anything. Powell did exactly what we expected him to do, which is not cut rates. And he came out and said very basic, not dovish and not hawkish stuff. So, this to me is the big news, folks.
Yeah, it looks like Trump says 20 hours ago, massive armada heading to Iran. 1 day ago, threat of U.S.-Iran war escalates as Trump warns Iran that time is running out to make a deal. What kind of deal will be made? I don't know. Iran would be dumb not to make a deal. I think Iran knows that as well. Iran is very good at funding terrorist organizations to do their dirty work, but not so much at fighting their own battle here. And they would get obliterated probably within 3 days. Would the markets dump? Yes, they would. Would a couple Americans die? Probably. Would some innocents in Iran die? Probably. Would it be pretty? No. But I don't think that we would do a 20-year war in the Middle East and try to occupy over there again. I think we would just kind of wipe them out like we did in Afghanistan, wipe them out, but then need to leave and not stay there for 2 decades. But that's not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody but bomb builders and Boeing, probably. But I don't know what is going on here. We'll see what Iran wants to do. But like you said, the whole push on the deal was that he wanted these protesters to be left alone, hostages to be released, and told them not to kill any protesters. And I think they just assassinated hundreds of them.
Thousands. You can look that up. Thousands. But what's interesting is that news is old news. That's like a week ago. They already killed all the protesters. Very tragic they did this, but it was predictable. Trump said, don't do that. Then he didn't do anything in response. And now it's coming. Now he's building up the armada, and it's about the nuclear threat, which is a legit thing, right? And maybe it's punishment for both things. But yeah, this is, I think, probably most of the reason why Bitcoin and crypto is in a sell-off right now. I wonder what are the poly market odds on going to war with Iran? Can we check that real quick? Because I think that's probably probably up there now. And I don't know if it'd be a war per se. Yeah, here we go.
Officially declare war.
Yeah, okay. We got the.
Trump invokes war powers against Iran by a certain date.
By March 31st.
By January 31st is 6%.
So anyway.
Poly market's not loving the idea of war here, but not much volume here. There might be like a better...
Well, you have to look at that specific bet. I mean, that's a very specific bet. It's kind of like, U.S. strikes. That's more probable than like any kind of declarations. Quick strikes, take out infrastructure, take out some leadership. That may be what Trump is, kind of a Venezuela 2.0 would be my guess is what would happen if they don't come to terms. But anyway, I think this is probably why the market's nuking. I don't think a war, again, but what's your definition of war, right? Like,
it's so crazy that we're in a point in time where we're betting on all this stuff. It's just wild. I don't know, because then you're almost rooting. I almost felt bad. I'm like, oh, look at this one. This is a good deal. Next country, USA strikes. Somalia, 94%. Iran, 5%. I will take Iran all day. They're going to blow them up. It's like, why am I even thinking about this? I'm like thinking in my head. That's what was going in my head when I was just staring at the screen. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't
like a soccer match with real lives at stake. I know it's pretty dystopian, isn't it?
I don't really like that. Somalia being the next that U.S. strikes, no. There's no reason for U.S. to really strike Somalia unless we're striking them with all the illegals here and dropping them off on a boat. So that's not a bet I would like. I'd probably like this one. I'm like, oh, maybe there isn't a lot of volume. $915,000 betted on this. I think that is a terrible bet, and I think Iran is a much better bet on that one.
Yeah, we're not going to attack Somalia. Maybe we should arrest Elon Omar for being a fraud, but we're not going to attack the country. Yeah. There's no reason to.
Odd. People just have too much money, I guess, throwing it around. Again, I don't really like this. I was just staring at this. I'm like, oh, God, anything you bet on here, you're literally betting on bombs, death, and destruction. I'm good. I would rather try to make money a different way. Primarily, let's just buy it and stake Ethereum or something.
You can bet on the ceasefire, so you're betting on peace, but there's not a lot of money coming into that bet, is there, on the Ukraine Russia deal getting sorted by January 31? Yeah. So yeah, man, it's a crazy time we're living in. I kind of do wish Trump would just take a chill pill for 2 weeks, take a little bit of that Biden energy, and just do a grandpa thing for 2 weeks. Go on a little golf trip. Let's just take a break from everything for a little bit and just calm the F down.
Right.
And let the markets breathe a little bit, because, man, this uncertainty is no one's loving this unless you're a gold guy.
Rob said, where is it? Most alts haven't seen anything run. Floki did a bit. Yeah, Floki did a good gainer for us. We made some good money on that, but even that's been a year ago and then 2 years ago from now. But ETH, no new all-time high. DeFi and staking, not really interesting now. We did make some good yield with PTGC, Surf, and EMID, some of those on Pulse Chain. Also on BNB, there was a couple that we did get some yield on. But kind of short-lived or not that impactful when the overall general market prices are going down and to the right. You're not seeing big dollar gains there. It is something that, has been sustainable, puts a little money in the pocket, but it hasn't been amazing, that's for sure. Frank says that was yesterday, but he said, let's talk first, which is good. Yeah, we brought up that news article. He says he doesn't think war will happen. Full-out war will be crazy. This is posturing by Trump. But the deal Trump wanted is, hey, just don't kill these people. And then Iran killed all the people. So I don't know what the next play is here.
Yeah, but I know it's a callous thing to say. Do I really want America to take out the leadership in Iran and just cause massive instability and chaos, at least temporarily, and probably a market dump for retaliation for what horrible thing the regime did? There's a lot of horrible regimes out there, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's probably like 20 countries that do horrible things to their citizens.
Slavery,
in a perfect world, they exist and all be
camps.
dead.
Yeah.
But like, we can't just kill everyone who does bad things, can we?
Right.
I don't know.
Slavery and concentration camps literally still exist. So there's a lot of bad things going on each and every day. Right now, there's bad things going on. So like you said, it's a fine line between the U.S. being the world police, which many of us are against. Even Republicans are against that. Like, look, I don't want to keep funding wars. I don't want to keep being part of wars. Let's focus on our people here. We're so rich, right? Let's put it into our own infrastructure. Let's put it into our own citizens. So
we're broke. We're
every time,
broke. 38 trillion in debt. We're broke.
Yeah, every time this happens, it's like the one step forward. Doge cuts 400 billion, but then we got to spend billions on Ukraine and Israel and all these other wars. And I get why we step in. It's not good for America and Western policies if Israel falls. They're kind of our people over there. Whether you like Israel, don't like Israel, like Jews, don't like whatever, that is Western civilization over in the Middle East. If that falls, well, then you kind of lose that outlet there. Think of it as like a military base. It's kind of, the Western safe haven over in a totally different culture and philosophy over there. So I understand why America does the things it does. It just is unfortunate that we have to do it so much. Seemingly America is the one putting the most amount of money, the most amount of lives at risks. And we see Europe, Western civilization, kind of the founders of Western civilization, not doing too much when it comes to that side of things, when it comes to money, men, and immigration policies. That's what's more frustrating to me. It's like we're doing everything we can to fight it, and we're not getting all that much help when it comes to either the monetary, manpower, or even support.
Yeah, and I think you need to differentiate between like what happened in Venezuela, which is more or less in our backyard, and there were millions and millions of immigrants flooding into the U.S., and just general instability and drugs coming in, and basically narco-terrorists had taken over that country, and that's right in basically in our backyard. Russia and China were kind of trying to take over and build military installations there. That's a very different thing than halfway around the world, the Iranian regime, which is horrible, which should go. Is that really our responsibility, though? Isn't that the point of Israel, by the way? To like be our kind of like buffer and like kind of like we can give Israel weapons and money and they can kind of deal with the Iranian threat. Like that was the deal. And so I don't know. I don't think we're going to go in, hopefully, and just cause another war. I don't really want to see that. If it looked like Iran was about to fucking shoot off a nuke, then fine. Like if it's an imminent threat to someone, then do it. But if it's just kind of this general, they might try to rebuild their military, their nuclear stuff later on. Like, leave it be. If they get close to the point of getting there again, then bomb them again. But anyway, I don't make the decisions. I do not make the decisions. And look, this is we could use Biden for alt season, couldn't we?
I'll tell you what. I guess a lot of the money printing and fraudsters are buying alts. I don't know. Because the amount of fraud they're finding is insane, and it's not just blue states; it's red states too. They just found 43 million in fraud in Texas, and people are like, "That's a red state." It's not about politics; it's about fraudsters and the allowing of those things to happen. Now, I will say most of it happens in blue cities within red states because we got a lot of fraud here in St. Louis, blue city in a red state. In Texas, it was found in a blue city in a red state. In even Minnesota, it's in Minneapolis, dark blue. The rest of the state, light blue or all red. So, there is a theme here, but it is kind of crazy that we're rooting for Biden to come back, all the bad policies, all the money printing, all the fraud. But hey, somebody was buying altcoins.
No, I don't think we really want Biden to be back in all seriousness, because if Kamala had won, Coinbase, you might not be able to use Coinbase right now. They might be shut the fuck down. DeFi, they'd attract every transaction you did. You might have been debanked. You might have been, oh well, your bank account's connected to Kraken. You're debanked now. Send a letter like Donald Trump got sent a letter from Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase, debanking him. So you don't want that. They were really trying to kill crypto, guys. That is far worse than Trump. He's doing crazy shit. But you know what? His crazy shit's got what people don't get.
It's got good results.
It's got good results, and people think that inaction is not a choice. Inaction is also a choice. Inaction is also essentially an action. Inaction in Venezuela was, okay, Maduro's still in charge, status quo, drugs coming in, illegal immigrants flowing over the borders, massive instability. That was a choice. And so, yeah, it was a dramatic thing that happened, but long-term for the better. So we kind of have to just get through this crazy, chaotic moment. I do wish Trump would just go on a golf trip for 2 weeks, though.
Yeah, and the thing with Venezuela, it's not, inaction is a choice, but it wasn't the choice of even the Democrats. Biden literally put a $25 million bounty on the head of Maduro. Look it up. He was going to spend U.S. tax dollars for somebody else to take care of it because he couldn't do it himself. And now Trump got into power, did it himself, got it done, no Americans dead, very few shots fired, got him out, and trying to figure out things there, and now it's looked at as a chaos, bad thing, but the previous administration literally was trying to pay for anybody, a bounty hunter, to figure out a way to take out Maduro.
Well, it's funny, it's viewed of as chaos in the moment, and I'm sure we had a market crash on the morning, it was like a Saturday morning or something, Trump goes in, it all comes out in the news, oh my God, we captured Maduro. And Bitcoin, I'm sure, crashed 3 or 4% because everyone on Bitcoin is a bunch of sissies reacting. Everything is, oh my God, something happened, sell. Something happened, buy. Everyone in crypto is a bunch of, I don't know what to tell you guys, but you have no chill. But the fact of the matter is, a week later, we've all forgotten about it and the market recovered. So, you can, by the way, look at what happens after wars or skirmishes or engagements, military escalations. There is always a little correction. And then a week or two later, the market's going back higher. So even if this Iran thing happens, which I hope it doesn't, we will recover from that too. And you guys, with your finger on the sell button, shaking my head.
Fat Sammy said, there's a good meme for Trump to go on a golf trip to help our bags. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good memes there. Every time he hits the ball, you can show some green candles and prices going up. That'd be pretty funny. This just popped up on my feed, and this kind of goes to my discussion earlier. China is dumping T-bills and buying gold. China's holding of T-bills just reached an 18-year low, while gold reserves hit a new all-time high. This is a big proponent, like you said, of nation-states pumping gold, and that's why gold prices are doing what they're doing. And this goes back to my thoughts of, China not fully embracing Bitcoin because they see it as kind of an American thing, an American invention. We got the strategic reserve, so they're going on and buying gold because they think it's going to outperform, and it has outperformed so far. Trump is not going to like that, though. Even though we do own gold, we've got big time behind Bitcoin. We even have mining facilities in Texas by government agencies. The list goes on and on. So we'll see how this tug of war goes. China has been pro-Bitcoin, then anti-Bitcoin. It's legal, then it's illegal. We can mine it, but you can't mine it. They've been flip-floppy on Bitcoin forever. Now they're head over heels for gold, but we know China never loves anything too long, and they always kind of change their mantra. They're never very transparent on what their objectives are. Either they're doing their own thing, they've been pretty successful at it, they're one of the global superpowers for this reason. Where do you think they go? Do they stick with gold forever? Do they sell it on retail's head? Do they get into Bitcoin? Do they not? Are they the first mover on Ethereum? What's going on here with China?
I think this is a kind of a shadow battle between the major world powers over the dominance of the US dollar. I think that's really what's happening here. The BRICS countries, they've been trying to replace the dollar for a while now. They see an opportunity. The dollar's weak. U.S. is up to its eyeballs, $38 trillion in debt. No one really wants to buy treasuries as far as I can tell. They're selling them like mad. And so this is their attempt to dethrone the dollar as the preeminent, fiat currency in the world. I don't think they'll be successful because no one trusts the yuan, by the way. Who would trust a currency with that kind of control over it by a non-democratic authoritarian regime, which is what the CCP is. So who would trust the yuan? The euro's there, but I'm not sure I want the Europeans in charge of too many things. No offense to your guys' leaders, but a bunch of woke idiots. What other currency could there be other than the dollar? So the dollar really isn't going anywhere as like the, let's call it the reserve asset, the reserve fiat currency of the world. But China's making a play. They're trying to hurt it. They're buying a bunch of gold. I don't think they sell the gold on retail's head to like make a quick 2x. They're not a degen trader. Like that's not the game they're playing.
It's a lot of money when you're playing with billions and trillions of
dollars. Yeah, they'll print more. What do you mean? Just print more, tax their citizens. Like they can make money in a million different ways. They're not going to dump the gold. I think they're trying to kill the dollar. I don't think it happens. And that's like, look, why does the Trump administration want stablecoins to be a thing? Because now companies have to buy treasuries in order to issue stable coins. That's the only thing that can back stable coins now after that stable coin bill passed. So it's all these things are connected, guys. They're all connected, but
that's a good point as well. And the crazy thing is we live in a global market, in a global economy. That's what it is within crypto. And the predominant stable coins used, the predominant fiat used when trading on all trading pairs is either USDT, USD straight up, USDC. They continuously have bigger volumes, bigger holdings, printing more of it. So even in this global financial market of crypto, the U.S. dollar has been the chosen stablecoin asset, and that's why the Clarity Bill Act is so important, because now you have government regulation to support that and to really enhance that and allow it to grow even further.
Yeah, and to bring it back to Bitcoin, I do think China has chosen gold over Bitcoin. They've never really liked Bitcoin. They've accepted it at times, mostly banned it, mostly didn't like it. They don't like not being in control of everything. If you guys hadn't noticed, they surveil their citizens to the point where if you step out of line, you basically lose all access to everything in your life that you need to survive, and you'll end up on the streets. Like that's the society there. I know there's a lot of shiny new buildings and the trains are really fast, but if you dissent from the the mantras of the Communist Party, you're out on your ass real quick. It's not a society I want to live in. The U.S. has chosen a different path, Bitcoin. And obviously the U.S. holds a lot of gold too, don't get it twisted. But I think Trump sees an opening with Bitcoin, sees an opening to use it to strengthen the dollar, sees an opening to use it to improve the retirement accounts of everyday Americans, because here's a really undervalued digital version of gold. He's pushing it. The problem is, because Trump likes it, half of the country doesn't. All the Dems don't like it. It's been politicized. And maybe it was always politicized and already politicized. Biden tried to kill it after all. But that's one thing that sort of is unfortunate about everything that Trump's done with it. I don't think he's done the wrong things necessarily, but it's because of who he is and the knee-jerk reactions to everything he does. It's been politicized. And so half the country probably hates it. I know a lot of people in my town who are all bleeding heart liberals are like, ew, crypto. That's a scam. You should become a professor instead. Trump's doing a great job creating a new crypto Wall Street in Florida. I was toying with the idea of moving down to Florida this week when we got hit by that giant snowstorm. And then I looked at the cost for home insurance.
That's the thing. You got to get that hurricane insurance if you want to be in Florida by a beach, which is predominantly why you would go down there, right?
Yeah, dude. I was looking because I had a friend who lived in Del Rey, which is like north of Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. Very nice town. First of all, every house, even like the modest, they're nice houses, but they're like 1.3, 1.4 million, 1.5 million. I mean, it's gotten very expensive there. But then you look at the home insurance, $1,800 a month for a home insurance. Like, fuck that. No thanks. I'll stay up in the north. I know it's cold here. There's snow on the ground, but I ain't paying $1,800 a month insurance. Anyway, we gotten off topic, guys, but it's great stuff today. Appreciate all you viewers jumping in. I saw there's about 300 people on the stream, so I wanted to keep it going for you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully a green day. What do we think tomorrow? We got green tomorrow? Or
we need it. I mean, not even gold was red today. Gold just plummeted from $5,600 down to $5,100. Not even gold.
Shit.
Wanted to stay green today.
Oh my goodness. Is this the like the start of the it's like the dump and then the consolidation that we've been looking for? I thought that was going to happen to 4,000, by the way. Is this could that have been the last parabolic move?
It could have been, because you can draw the parabola there. I mean, we saw that. We went to 4,000 or whatever on gold, and we had that consolidation, but it only lasted about a month. Bitcoin did a massive rally to its high of 116,000, from like 70,000 to 116, and then gold decided, you know what, we're not done yet, and kept running, and Bitcoin's been down ever since then. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but today everything is red now. Bitcoin's red, Ethereum is red, gold is red, silver is red, Nasdaq is red. The only thing green is XTZ. Haven't heard that name in forever. Up 1%. Tezos is up 1%.
Wow.
GDEN, which is a gambling stock, is up 1.1%. And the dollar is up 0.04%. Everything else, red, 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 red.
The paradise dump in full effect. Yes, it was not Powell. It was not China. It was not Trump. It was crypto paradise causing this dump. You can thank us later. You can thank us later, guys.
Yeah, before we head out, a couple people have been talking about copper. Copper is a good play. Copper, I think, is the cheapest, best risk to reward precious metal out of, platinum and gold and silver, just because of the runs. And copper is the cheapest kind of metal that can be used for a lot of things, from electronics to building, et cetera, et cetera. So they don't make pennies with copper for a reason, because it would be worth like 5 cents per penny. That just propagates the problem with inflation and fiat dollars even more.
They don't even make pennies anymore, period. They stopped making them. They're discontinued.
Yeah, zinc.
Another great thing Trump did, by the way, I think.
Yeah. Zinc costs too much, too. It was like costing $0.015 to make zinc pennies that are worth a penny. Makes no sense.
Madness. All right, guys, great show today. Great show. Thank you guys for watching. I just want to pull that up. Great show. Thank you for watching today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with another stream. And until then, we'll see you on the beach.